All right, today I'm going to talk about a couple updates that we have. So first, there's probably 3 or 4 different updates I'm going to talk about, and I'll just mention them here first, and then I'll go through in a little more detail each one of them. So the first one would be some outdoor options. So we've created an option with to be able to add a tent, which I'll go over in more detail. We've also added some more scenery objects in the library. We've also added some new guidelines within the top front left and right camera views that can be helpful. And then we've added new models such as a car that you could use for specific options. And then we've also added some new lighting setting features, which you can definitely use to optimize your scene. So there's basically just 1 or 2 buttons that you can switch on and off to help the scene run faster. So so I'll go into all of them now. So the first one being some outdoor scenes. So this is a specific venue here, but we've also added in the venue section here the option to do a tent. So we're definitely expanding on this option, but what it allows you to do, for one, is adjust the lighting within the kind of outdoor scene. We want to add a lot more detail to the whole outdoor scene, but this is kind of just what we have for now. So basic outdoor scene, and then the tent option here, you can use this, or you can kind of delete it and get rid of it if you don't want to use the tent. But it's kind of cool. So if you ever have a project where you do need a tent, right now we have a pole tent option, and we're working on a framed tent option as well. But for this pole tent, you can switch the size of it over on this right side hand here. So I could set it to any width between 150 feet and I think like 50 or 20 feet, I think might be the minimum. So maybe I want to do like a 60-foot wide by 60-foot deep tent. So what it's going to do is actually make the center poles more minimum, and then it's going to kind of rescale the whole thing. If I wanted it to go like something larger, you'll see that it'll actually add a pole. And if I wanted to go to like 150 feet, it's going to add even more poles, and it's going to extend it all. And then maybe I want the height to be a little bit shorter. So that's kind of how this works. And then once you're kind of inside the tent, you see this. If I hover above the tent, I kind of remove the top so that I can see what's going on here. Same thing if I go into my top view here. And to move and edit the tent, you can just select the move icon up here at the top, and then use these settings to change the size of the tent. So pretty versatile, basically just one object that you can change all the settings for it to get the size that you need. And then, so I'll talk real quick too about some guidelines here. So we added a center in the Y direction line, and then a line in the X direction as well. And these aren't necessarily like 0, 0 coordinates, but they are meant to kind of give you a guide, especially for where the center of usually a room sits. And then the horizontal line over here is again kind of a guide, but also it lines up with specific objects in the build tool here. So if I were to kind of remove this stage, and if I added a new stage, you can see the area that it sits in front of this horizontal line here. If I were to add a backdrop, like some drape here, it's going to go right along that red line there. So again, this can be a guide to say, okay, that's where maybe not my back wall is, but like my backdrop. So I might want everything else to be in here. So this is just a guide for you to use as a reference, but also it kind of tells you exactly where things sit. Again, with the rigging too, it's going to put the truss right on that line right there. Obviously, you can move the objects wherever you want to after they're already set there. But again, just a nice guide to have. And you'll see that as well in the front views and side views as well. So helpful tool there. And then 2 other things. So we added in a car model, which you can find under decor. There's also some new scenery objects in the atomic section too. I think we added 4 or 5 new ones, so you can kind of look around in there as well. And then in this miscellaneous button here, you can add in a car now. So if you ever want to use a car for anything specific, let's see, maybe it sits right here. Not at the greatest spot for it, but just as an example. And then once you have it down there, you're probably obviously not going to want it to be red, so you can change the color of it to whatever you want, and then use it, however you see fit. Also with these outdoor scenes too, we have, if you just click on the venue button, you can actually change the kind of time of day which can be a nice effect. So I could change this to sort of the middle of the day and get these kind of shadows going through here like this, or kind of a nighttime scene as well. So you have that option too. And lastly, so I'll kind of throw in maybe this room again real quick here. I'll move some of these back here. So lastly, with kind of optimization stuff, in the settings button here, by default now, we have this audience lighting shadows and audience shadows, and the audience shadows are going to be turned off by default. If you ever turn them on, it will always save them to be on. So when you come back, it'll still be on. But what it's going to help with is when in this type of program, basically, you're constantly adding a lot of lighting, a lot of objects to your scene, and once you get a ton of objects in there, things can start to slow down a little bit. So there's some simple, just 2 buttons here that will help a lot with changing that. So if you notice that things are maybe slowing down a little bit, this one again will be off by default, which basically turns the shadows of the audience seating off. So if I turn them on, you can see there's not that big of a change. So it's a really subtle change, but it helps a lot with the speed of things. So that will be off. And then when you go to render, you can basically turn that back on if you want. And then lighting shadows will turn the rest of the lighting shadows off as well. So again, I just turned it off, and you really probably don't see any difference, but it does improve a lot of performance again. So if I turn that back on, you'll see a little more shadows come on, and now they're all on. And so yeah, so typically I'd only really mess with that if you have like a ton of stuff in your scene and you're noticing things maybe slowing down a little bit. It's really nice to just be able to turn these off, and your speed will just go up by a ton. So it's super helpful there. And just a little tip to kind of keep you cruising there. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. We definitely have a lot more updates coming up in the future as well, with importing 3D objects, exporting as well to other programs we're working on, and then a custom room building feature that should be done pretty soon as well as some new lighting updates too. So all of these things are kind of coming pretty soon. And then if there's anything else that you need or looking for, definitely let us know either in our live chat button at the bottom right side of our website, or you can get a hold of us by sending an email or submitting a form or anything like that too. Can work. Cool. All right. Thanks for watching, and leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. We try to post them every Wednesday, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.